Hey guys, what's happening? Nihat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be exploring the army of Anubis as featured in the awesome The Mummy Returns, which is directed by Stephen Sommers, starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, Oded Fehr, Arnold Vosloo, and Dwayne Johnson. The army of Anubis was an ancient legion of the underworld that laid waste to all soldiers and cities they encountered under the orders of Anubis, the Egyptian god of death and mummification. Appearing as a giant shadow of scorpions when summoned by Anubis, the soldiers quickly transformed from the ashes into fierce mummies ready to serve their god. The army was essentially comprised of thousands of 9-foot-tall muscular humanoids with heads that resembled that of jackals, much like Anubis himself. In honor of their god, the soldiers all wore a headdress similar to those worn by ancient Egyptian pharaohs, as well as golden armor and jewelry, distinguishing themselves from the lowly humans that were unfortunate enough to meet them in battle. Equipped with razor-sharp teeth, double-bladed axes and spears, and able to run at incredible speeds, the undead army craved blood and violence and feared nothing. They also did not require food, water, or rest, which enabled them to fight for days on end and eventually destroy every kingdom that stood in their way. Though the warriors were nearly indestructible, they could be destroyed through decapitation, with the prompt removal of their heads causing them to dissipate into the black sands of Anubis. While their numbers were estimated to have been around 100,000, since the army of Anubis was comprised of warriors that had once fallen to them, their numbers would only increase over time, which meant that at some point in the future, they could potentially outnumber all humans on Earth. Thankfully, as was prophesied, they would only arise every 5,000 years under the guidance of the one who wore the bracelet of Anubis, which meant that humanity had a chance to prepare and fend them off, as was seen with the Brotherhood of the Magi, who faced them in battle on numerous occasions. Although the army directly served their god Anubis, whoever wore the bracelet of Anubis had the power to control the unwavering soldiers in battle, and this was first discovered by a devious sorcerer named Magus, who praised the teachings of the god of death, and was actually the first human to command the army of Anubis. Years later, Matthias the Akkadian assassin, now known as the Scorpion King, led a great army across the deserts to conquer Thebes, but lost despite the successful campaign that he and his warriors carried out until that point. The Scorpion King and his armies were then expelled out into the deserts of Amshir, where one by one the warriors all died due to heat stroke, exhaustion, hunger and thirst, except for the Scorpion King, who refused to give up. In his dying moments, Matthias prayed to Anubis, and in exchange for his life and the chance to once again be a conqueror, the Scorpion King pledged his soul to the god of death. In response to this, Anubis presented him with a large black scorpion which came crawling from the sands, and Matthias promptly picked it up and ate it, accepting the favor that Anubis had bestowed upon him, and from the sands sprouted a great oasis which would come to be known as the Oasis of Amshir. With this, the Scorpion King was also given the bracelet of Anubis, which allowed him to command his master's army on a siege against Thebes, the kingdom that had once cost the Scorpion King so much. With the destruction of Thebes and Anubis' part of the deal complete, Matthias was pulled back to the underworld, where he was transformed into a monstrous scorpion beast and forced to live as an eternal servant of Anubis. As was prophesied, the army returned once again 5,000 years after the fierce battle, and Rick O'Connell was able to send them back to the underworld by defeating the Scorpion King. And while Matthias was now destroyed, Anubis' power was absolute, which meant that his army would once again resurface in 5,000 years, and whoever had the bracelet of Anubis could once again control the army of jackal-headed mummies. Well, that's all for today, folks. Big thanks to all of you guys who requested we explore the army of Anubis as featured in The Mummy Returns. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the notification icon to stay up to date on all my content. And if there's anything else you'd like to request, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Nihat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.